Hey everyone, just a quick reminder, it is December, and that means every video in December has a chance for you to win a free game. All you have to do to enter is leave a comment on that video for a chance to win. More information in the description.
Welcome friends to Anhat's instructional and inspirational workout video. First up we're going to do push-ups. So 1 and 2 and 3 and then flex. And then 1 and 2 and 3 and then flex. You know, flex one more time. You're looking really strong. Good for you. Now do 3 more.
I might be a dork. Welcome friends, Last Guy here, and it's time for the vlog. So here's what's gonna happen. Politics for the first couple minutes, 2 or 3 minutes, really quick. And then just skip over that. We're gonna talk about Marvel. We're gonna talk about Star Wars. We're gonna talk about Patreon. A little bit with the channel. Actually, I'll just talk about the channel right now. There's gonna be a lot of one-shot and Scarf plays for a little bit because as of yesterday, in one day, we got 7 games. There's too many games to cover right now, so I gotta cover a bunch of games. Also, there's nothing LP right now anyway, so right now, talking about the channel. Lot of games to cover. Holy crap. And they're on the Switch too. We're getting some Switch things, so that's pretty awesome, so we can see how Switch does things as well. That's great. Now talking politics. Just skip 1 or 2 minutes ahead. The Roy Moore vote happened. Of course, the dude who was accused of sexually assaulting a bunch of women, no does not mean no to him. He is refusing to accept his defeat in the election. If you don't know about this election, you have Doug Jones and Roy Moore. Doug Jones is a Democrat trying to get the Senate seat in Alabama. Has not happened in 25 years. He's the first one for it to happen. He gets it. Roy Moore is this guy who has all these accusations, and he is basically a pedophile. People have accepted he's a pedophile. I'm saying this wrong. People accepted that even if he is a pedophile and a rapist and all this, they'd rather have him than a Democrat. They've accepted that even if he did all these things, they would still vote for him. That's what was stated by quite a few people, and that is horrible. So people still wanted to vote on party lines. Some people didn't vote at all because of this, and Doug Jones barely wins by 1.5%. He barely wins by 20,000 votes. By the way, Nick Saban got 20,000 write-in votes. He's a college football coach of the Crimson Tide in Alabama. He's an amazing coach, but what the hell? So that's what happened. I have a lot of international friends and viewers, and they're like, what is wrong with America? And I'm like, Not just about that, though. Of course, with the tax reform, you have Republicans admitting that this tax reform is actually terrible. It's very bad for literally everyone, and they're still going to do it because they have to vote along party lines. That is despicable and frustrating, and where is the soul? Where is the soul? Where is the integrity? It is frustrating. Here's my thing. I don't understand why the liberals are mad and the middle's mad, like the centrists. Why? They're all very angry, and the right is not as angry as it should be. I feel like the right should be the angriest part of America right now. They should be pissed that their party is just hurting themselves in this way, is hurting their constituents in this way. They should be pissed that Trump is such a joke. I don't know how a Trump supporter is not the angriest person in the room. I really don't understand this because he is going back on so many promises. The Republican Party is going back on so many promises. I don't understand how they're not the angriest part. That is what confuses me more than anything. You back this pony, and you're okay with this pony basically crapping all over you. I don't understand, and it's weird. It is very weird, very frustrating. And it comes down to, again, I think, nobody likes to talk politics. They like to not think about it, and because of that, we're all worse for wear for it, and I don't know where we're going as a country in a couple of years. Because we're becoming less viable. We definitely are, and it's very frustrating because who doesn't love America? Well, it's just America who loves America, and everyone else is really crapping on us right now. When you got Canada saying we have to be the new world leader, holy crap. Look, I like Trudeau. Canada's very nice. But, America, we're self-centered. We want to be number one. So what the crap? This isn't good. This is not okay. Tax reform, it might go through before the end of the year because they want to get a win before the end of the year. But it's not a win. It is a Pyrrhic victory for all of us. So that worries me a lot. Sometimes politics just feels like Sisyphus, just rolling that boulder up and getting crushed by it every day. It's very not good. And that's why politics suck, and no one wants to hear about it. That's why some of you have skipped to a later part. Net neutrality happened as well. It's really frustrating how the majority of people are for, or are they have a thought on something and the representatives vote the other way. Overwhelmingly, people are for net neutrality, and yet it's getting voted the other way, and it's very frustrating. And it's like, I thought this is a representative democracy. Our representatives are not representing us, and it's very frustrating. Extremely so. But net neutrality, it's going to take a couple of years for that one to go. But tax reform, it's happening right now, and they're not going to let Doug Jones vote on it, which is not cool, because when it happened, what was it, in 2010, we let the incoming Republican do his vote, because they asked us to stall. I'm saying us, as in Democrats right now, because I'm feeling very Demi right now. I do always lean to the left a little anyway. But it was very... Democrats did the right thing and let that guy in. And this time around, it's not happening. I'm really frustrated with this whole... If the shoe was on the other foot, they wouldn't do it. But the thing was, when the shoe was on the other foot, and the Democrats let the Republicans in. So this is very frustrating and very, very, very frustrating. Now we're done with politics. Patreon. So Patreon happened. They flipped back on the changes they were going to make. So if you're worried about that, it's flipped back again. Some of the Patreon competitors showed them like, hey, we're not doing that BS they're doing. So those guys are showing up and their stuff with that. And I don't really know. For us, Patreon has always been this thing where just people donate because they want to donate. We don't get small donators. We just have a couple, bigger ones. But without Patreon, we would not be able to do the AAA. So it's very important what Patreon has been for us. And thank you, of course, to y'all who donated on Patreon. So I don't know. It's weird what Patreon was trying to do. I really don't understand what they were thinking. The big frustration people have that other people have echoed is that Patreon didn't talk to anybody before they made these changes. They're like, hey, you're welcome, but this is what we did for you. And it's like, nobody liked this. Nobody liked this idea at all. Nobody. So it was very, what the hell. So it does scare some people away from Patreon. It definitely does. Disney buying a bunch of Fox's stuff for the to make the MCU more complete, and also to make their Netflix version more a better thing. That deal is going pretty close to going through right now. There's still some things that could happen to make that deal not happen, but if the deal does happen, then we will see a complete MCU, and that would be awesome. It would be awesome to see the X-Men. It would be awesome to see Wolverine. It'd be awesome to see Hugh Jackman, because Hugh Jackman and Patrick Stewart both said they would come back if Marvel was in control of the X-Men. And now it's happened. So the question is, will they come back or not? That is the question here. And who knows? Really interested to see whether or not they meant it or they were just saying it as a dig towards Fox. That's the question here. But there's people who are dreading this because, like, well, Marvel's all homogenous and this. I'm like, what are you talking about? They're homogenous in the same way every story is homogenous. Like, they have done a lot of interesting things, a lot of fun things, and they've been very entertaining. The MCU has been a very entertaining universe. I like it a lot. It'll be interesting to see what happens after Infinity War if this acquisition does happen. If you're a fan of the X-Men, you want this acquisition because the X-Men have been completely crap in the comics as far as I'm concerned. Because they've just been crapping on the X-Men for the last decade or so to screw over the movies. Because the movies are the big moneymaker, not the comics. And so they've made X-Men worse for wear over the last decade or so because they wanted to have less material to make the X-Men movies good so they aren't competition. And so with them buying this, we should hopefully see a resurgence in X-Men comics and a resurgence in I almost said Final Fantasy, Fantastic Four, because Fantastic Four has been crap as well. They basically just wrote out the Fantastic Four for years in the Marvel Universe, as far as the comics go. So this is a good sign if you're a fan of those properties. A very much a good sign. And you got people complaining about Deadpool and Logan wouldn't happen, they wouldn't make R-rated movies. And you might be right, but it's a sacrifice I'd be fine with. As good as those movies were, especially with Deadpool, with Logan it would suck. But with Deadpool, if it was PG-13, understanding how Deadpool 1 was made, and how Ryan Reynolds and just that crew are, they could make a PG-13 movie work, and it would be hilarious. Because that's what Deadpool is, a subversion. He very much is a subversion of humor, and just doing things in crazy ways and hilarious ways. And they would find a way to make PG-13 work. They would push the limits as far as they could. And I think it would be a hilarious movie. Sometimes there will be parts where R would have made it better, but I'm sure, just with complete belief, that they could make a PG-13 Deadpool work, and it would be hilarious in just how they subvert everything with that. The one more thing to talk about with that is, I think I mentioned already that Disney wants to make their own Netflix, basically, and they're going to have them on ESPN. And now having Fox properties out of even bigger. People aren't sure about Hulu. No one's really sure what Hulu's going to be or what it's going to do. But if you're a fan of that, maybe be worried. Now, one of the big things financially is that the Murdochs are going to be, because this buy of the Fox properties is all stock, not money. It's all stock, which means the Murdoch family is the second biggest shareholder group of Disney. Like, as far as individual goes, they're number one, but because there's the Vanguard, but they are the second largest shareholder. I can't find the right word here, of Disney. And that's important because you would want it to be stock buy because of the fact that Disney, by having X-Men and all this stuff and owning just all the Fox stuff, they're going to make even more movies. They're going to make even more money off these movies. So that stock's going to be worth even more. So being a stock purchase is a good idea, and they're going to make so much money off of that. Mr. Murdoch himself, Rupert Murdoch, Fox News does not get sold to Disney. Some other things don't get sold to Disney. And he is planning on making a more aggressive push with his new stuff. And so expect some interesting aggression out of there. That's going to be very curious. Oh, Star Wars really quick. There will be a spoiler video on Star Wars in the future after Jinx has seen the movie, because I don't want to edit that video. I loved the crap out of that movie. I really liked what they were doing with that movie. I liked the subversions they were doing. I liked the framework of it. There are weak points to it, but understanding what they were going for, and as a culmination of the entire thing, I really, really enjoyed that movie. And this is the thing. For me, the movie was so good. When the movie was over, I wanted to get another ticket and watch it again right then and there. I really enjoyed this movie a lot. I cannot wait to see it again and again and again and again. I really, really liked episode 8. I liked this one a lot. I enjoyed it. There are people who absolutely hate this movie, and I can't even. I don't know. I think it's because of what it did. The Last Jedi won after a bunch of questions, and went after a lot of lore. It did a lot of things. It covered a lot of questions, and it covered a lot of lore, and it just covered so many things, and people did not like the answers, I guess. Me, narrative-wise, I liked what these answers were. I liked what they were trying to do here. And I don't think it takes away from anything what they did with this movie. There are people who feel like they took away a bunch. I'm like, no, they made it better. They made it better in so many ways. And I'll have to argue this later in the spoiler talk video in the future, but I really enjoyed this movie. I liked it a lot, and you can disagree with me in the comments, and I won't care. Because this movie was really good to me. I really enjoyed it. And keep in mind, this guy is doing the next trilogy. After 9, he does the next trilogy. This guy is going to be the one that does it. And so if you hate this movie, you're going to hate Star Wars for a while. And if you love this movie, like I did, I am excited as all hell. I am absolutely excited here. I cannot wait, because the cinematography was amazing. The imagery, the sound design, the acting was top notch. Mark Hamill was a treasure in this movie. He was amazing. Absolutely amazing. Special effects were good. I really like this movie, and I really cannot wait to see what happens when it's the same guy's full vision, because this was, of course, J.J. Abrams did 7. 8 was him having to address things that J.J. did and doing his own things, and then 9 is going to be J.J.'s back, I think. So we'll see how that goes, but I'm excited to see what happens when this guy has complete control over a trilogy, what he can do, because there were some moments. Oh, wow, there were some really good moments and just really good culminations and really good payoffs. The setups were pretty good. The payoffs were really good. I liked a lot of things that happened in this movie. Some things were a little ham-fisted, that's for sure. But on the whole, it was amazing, and I want to see it again, and again, and again, and again. It does the opposite of what 7 did. So if the same people were mad about 7 or mad about 8, there's no saving those people. If they liked 8 because it was different from 7, did different things, then great. People who love 7 hate 8, well, I don't know. But me, I loved both. I really enjoyed both. I liked them a lot, so I can't wait to see 8 again. I can't wait to see 7 and 8 again. Really enjoy these. I enjoyed these a lot. Heck of a lot. So, topic. It's going to be a heavy topic, so you can just completely skip this part if you don't want to talk about. If you don't want to hear about this. It's been months since we've talked about depression in a big way. And the Christmas season, unfortunately, is a huge time for suicide rates. It's really unfortunate. So I'm talking about it again because I feel this is a good time to talk about it, and because I came up with a really good analogy. I was talking about depression with a friend, and I have to quote myself on everything I wrote. And see how you feel about this. Because I was talking about how my interpretation of depression. And they're like, yeah, that's pretty dang accurate. And so, if you don't suffer from it, here is an analogy to give you some idea about it. And those of you who are going through it, let me know how you feel about depression as well. But here are my thoughts. And that is, it is a flood. Depression is a flood. It is a flood of dark emotions, thoughts, and feelings. And when it hits the person who's feeling depression, they're at the front. You're standing right there when that water hits. And we become awash in the flood. We are overtaken. We are overwhelmed by this flood of emotion, this thoughts, this darkness inside us. It is strong, it is powerful, and it is difficult to overcome and stay afloat. You're trying to swim against this current, and it is very hard. And you're gasping, you're struggling to just stay afloat, to get breathing happening when you're in this flood. And everything gets covered in the dampness of this flood. Everything is covered in it. There's nothing you can do about that. But the thing is, in time, like all floods, eventually the flood does recede. Everything's still covered in water, in the darkness, but eventually even that will dry out. But here's the thing about floods in real life and with yourself is, you can build up defenses against a flood. You can build up walls, levees, dams, diversional canals, all these things. Continue that analogy. These things are friends, family, understanding how your depression works, your triggers, working around those things, support groups, all these things. There are different ways you can develop defenses against a flood, physically and emotionally. That is the thing you can do. But eventually floods do happen. And this is when support is more important than anything. This is when your friends are important. This is when your family's important, if they are supportive. Unfortunately, some family members just can't wrap their heads around depression. It's unfortunate. There's support groups. There are help hotlines. And these different groups can be life preservers to keep you alive in the flood of emotion. And sometimes they can even be a boat for you to sit on while you're going through the flood. This is very important. I feel like the flood is the best example because water gets everywhere. Water finds its way to the cracks of anything and gets through. And that's what depression does. You can have a really good day, and then something reminds you of something that really, really isn't great, and you fall right into the depression. Or it just happens. Because that's what depression can be. Depression can just happen out of nowhere. You could have one of the best days, and it just happens. Just like a flood. A flood can just, bam, happen. It's just very unfortunate. And like I said before, this is why defenses are important. The thing about depression is they come and go. Floods come and go. They keep happening. They're gonna keep happening. But you can build up ways to make them happen less, or ways to try to survive them when they happen. Because when you're covered, when the flood has overtaken you and you're struggling to stay up, struggling to breathe, you feel like maybe you should just let go and let it take you. That's suicide. As someone who's attempted it, I understand that a lot. But you can't. Now, the reason why I make this analogy of the flood is because of what depression is. It is an overload of negative emotions, negative thoughts, negative feelings. It's an overload. It's what it is. And if you take the time to sit it out, to wait it out, it eventually does go away. It will take time, of course, but it does eventually go away. That has been the biggest lesson I've learned going through my own depression is, if I give myself enough time, I know it will recede eventually. And that has probably been one of the biggest factors in why I have not completed suicide. That's probably the biggest reason is I recognize even when I'm in it that if I can hold out, if I can just hold on and wait out this flood, these terrible feelings, I know it will eventually recede. That is something I've learned from a decade plus of depression. That's what I've learned. And so that's why I use this analogy. Came up with it like a couple days ago. And from those I've talked with, they're like, that feels pretty accurate. A pretty good representation. So I'm bringing this up for those who don't understand depression. That's kind of what it is. Just a flood. It is a natural disaster in its own way. It really is. There's some people who can't control it happening to them. I have a relative where it is literally a chemical imbalance. It doesn't have anything to do with mental anguish or any of that stuff. It is literally a chemical imbalance where they're just off. They're not getting enough of what they need in their brain, and so they just feel depression. And so they're on medication for it, and they're back at level. Like, literally a chemical thing, because they actually love their life, and they could not comprehend why they felt this way. And so there are just so many different ways depression can happen. There's a lot of mental disorders with depression. There's a lot of chemical imbalances. There's a lot of symptoms or ways that it can come about. And for them, it was literally just straight up the chemicals weren't working out. And that's a flood on its own. That's a natural flood right there. It's just, that's how the blocks fell on that one. It's a flood. And we can build defenses for it, and we can find ways to mitigate the flood, or to just deal with the flood, or to just wait it out and get through it. It's not an easy thing, but there are so many ways to go about it. And also, it's important to know you're not alone. There are other people going through it. A lot of people are going through it. The people who don't believe depression is real are the luckiest people in the world. Or they're in the most denial of the people in the world. Because depression sucks. It is one of the worst things that you can have, just because you can torment yourselves in ways worse than anyone ever could. And it really sucks. That's what depression is. And it's terrible. It's just the best way to put it. It's terrible. But what's also important to know is that you're not alone in that. You're not alone in being in that flood. There's a lot of people in the flood. And there's a lot of people who get knocked over by it, who get very soaked in it, and then it recedes and they get right back up. And if you're watching this and you're still alive, you're getting right back up, like dealing with it. I don't have any good way to end this. I felt like it was worth talking about depression again. And it's a downer subject. Just like politics is a downer subject. But you gotta talk about these once in a while. You have to talk about the negative things to get your head around them. Because if you just ignore them, eventually they just build up and then that's even worse. When the pressure builds and explodes, it can be so much worse. So you gotta have some idea what's going on. With the world, with yourself, with things going on around you. It's important to try to keep your head above water. In more ways than one. So that's the vlog. I probably could have covered this better. Maybe in another take, but I think I got the point across, and I also don't want to talk about all the other stuff again. But it's a downer thing to talk about. Not gonna talk about this next week. Next week is closer to Christmas. Don't forget the Christmas giveaways. And in January, we're gonna do a Dragon Ball FighterZ giveaway. That's gonna happen for sure. And whenever Monster Hunter World happens, that'll have a giveaway as well for PC. Specifically for PC, both of them specifically for PC. And anything else I wanted to give giveaways for in the future as well. But yeah, that's the vlog. I had fun talking about it, from watching and listening. That's what it's all about, isn't it? Having fun. Thanks for coming by, and see you next time.